Hello, everyone. Today I'm presenting an analysis of the translation and the writing sections of an English exam. This report was compiled by Yulin Qin and Yuntao Wang, focusing on an English exam at Xishuangbanna Vocational High School. This exam is for grade 11 Chinese vocational high school students with A2 to B1 English level. It's a low-stakes test with a 40-point writing section. The writing part has two tasks, an 80 word letter and a 10 sentences to translate. This analysis report utilizes the AUA framework proposed by Beckman and Dayberg in 2018. This framework comprises four main aspects: intended consequences, intended decisions, intended interpretations, and intended records. In the following pages, we'll divide into each of these aspects, examine how they apply to this particular English exam. This analysis will provide valuable insights into the assessment's design and the potential impacts on various stakeholders. Now, let's begin with examining claim 1, intended consequences. The first intended consequence is that students will be assessed on their basic English writing and translation skills. This is beneficial for students as low stakes. Formative assessments provide opportunities for feedback, which can enhance students' motivation to learn and improve. This is supported by research from Nichol and McFarlane Dick in 2006. However, there's also a potential negative consequence. Students who do not achieve 60% of the total writing score will be required to copy sample answers as a punishment. This approach can lead to negative washback. Research by Reef in 2009 suggests that punitive assessments given after poor test performance can negatively affect teacher-to-student relationships and even reduce students' interest in learning. On a positive note, another intended consequence is that teachers will improve their teaching methods on writing and translation. This creates positive washback as it provides teachers with clear information about student and performance, helping them enhance their teaching strategies. And there are also some possible unintended consequences to consider. The first one is that the exam results may influence students' confidence in using English for practical purposes. Test results can significantly affect how students perceive their own abilities in English. The second one is that the school's effectiveness in English education, particularly in practical skills, might be reflected in these results. The overall test outcomes can serve as an indicator of how well the school's English program is functioning. These intended and possible consequences affect various stakeholders, primarily the students and teachers, but also potentially the schools and parents. It's crucial to consider these impacts when designing and implementing such assessments. And now let's move on to claim 2, intended decisions. This section outlines the decisions that will be made based on the assessment results. We'll make these decisions when they will be made and who will be affected by them. First, as this is a formative low-stakes assessment, teachers will grade students' writing and translation abilities and decide who will pass the exam. This decision will be made after the assessment and will primarily affect the students and potentially their parents. Secondly, teachers will use the assessment results to adjust their teaching strategies to enhance students' practical English skills. This decision will be made before the next unit and will affect both teachers and students, and indirectly the parents. Thirdly, students will use the assessment results to identify areas for improvement in their English expression. This decision will be made by the students themselves after the assessment and will primarily affect their own learning strategies. It's important to note two aspects of these decisions. The first one is value sensitivity. The teacher paying attention to students at all levels is consistent with teachers' own values. This is supported by research from Zi and Coleman in 2006 and 16. And the second one is equitability. Interestingly, equality is not primary consideration when making decisions during low-stakes formative assessments, as pointed out by Beckman and Denberg in 2018. These intended decisions showcase how the assessment results are used to inform both teaching and learning strategies, emphasizing the formative nature of this assessment. And now we'll discuss Claim 3, Intended Interpretations. This section focuses on how the assessment results are interpreted and used. And first, let's consider the relevance of the assessment. Evaluating students' writing and translation skills provides teachers with relevant information for two key decisions: determining exam pass rates and assessing the need for pedagogical adjustments. For students, this evaluation is relevant to their decision-making process and highlights specific aspects of these skills that require further development. And next, we'll look at the sufficiency of the assessment. The writing assessment provides sufficient information for both teachers and students to make decisions. For teachers, the student's ability to write a well-structured essay using promote information applying knowledge from the unit is highly relevant to deciding whether students pass the exam. The test results also provide insights into students' level of knowledge acquisition, allowing teachers to make informed decisions on adjusting their teaching methods. And for students, examination outcomes provide clear insights into their knowledge deficiencies, enabling them to modify their learning strategies and remedy their learning shortfalls. And the following parts will be illustrated by my partner, Yulin.
Thank you, Yintao. And let's talk about the meaningfulness. It is meaningful for students to apply what they have learned and then use their problem solving and communicative skills for this letter writing, and they can apply this for the further study and life. And also for the sentence translation, it is also meaningful because it can reflect the student how they understanding, to what extent they understand of their textbooks, and how can they express accurately. And it is generalizable for the letter writing, but for the translation task, because the sentences are exact from the textbook. Without the context in the textbook, then the sentence is decontextualized, so they cannot be generalized to other sentences. And also, it is impartial for the students because there is no bias. The topic of the letter and the content are given for the students. They only need to finish what they require to write. And then let's look at the claim 4, the intended assessment record. There are two rating skills. The first one is for letter. There are 3 components: the content, grammar, and vocabulary, and the structure. Like if the student can achieve that, their content is comprehensive and in-depth, and they can accurately answer the requirements, they can get 5 to 6 points, something like that, according to what they have achieved. And the second one is for the sentence translation. Like if their sentence is no mistake, so they can get 2.5 scores. If they have made 1 mistake, then they will lose half point. If they have made 5 or more mistakes, they will lose all the points. And let's talk about the inconsistency. During the administration of the assessment, these 2 tasks are targeted to different classes of the students on the same day, so they might be taught by different teachers. So the teacher might, who designed the assessment, they might be give more practices for their own class students. So here is the inconsistency here about the different tasks. As I said before, the topic and the content of tasks are given, so that is fixed. the student cannot change, so there is no inconsistency for this part. And then as for how students' performance are scored, because the teachers have already got the grading rubric, maybe they will misread because it is a subjective assessing. And if the student use the synonymy rather than the words from the textbook, the teacher might think that is not workable. So they have different rubrics. And also, there is no sentence translation in Gaokao. So there is no consistency for their further assessment here. And now let's look at the strengths and the weaknesses. It is beneficial, value sensibility, and relevant, sufficient, meaningful, and impartial. Most of the strengths that we have already talked about before. And then let's look at the equalability, generalizability, and consistency, we need to improve. The first one, we have talked about that inequality is not concerned for the formative assessment. But as I said, there is some fact that the teacher might give more information for the student in their own classes to practice more. So we suggest that the collaborative assessment design, like we can ask for two teachers design the assessment together, or we can ask, here we are year 2, so we can ask year 3 or year 1 teacher to design the assessment. But the point is that this is only a monthly assessment. We only need to get the information that the student who require more teaching, what the teacher need to change the topic, whether is it, so we don't need to put so much concentration on this part. And now let's look at the generalizability. Because we have said that the sentence translation is decontextualized. So like Lu Razi said, we need to make the relationship between the assessment task and the real life tasks clear. So we can give a like a paragraph translation for students that would be more context give them, and then they can practice the transition skills. And about the impartiality, maybe teacher will when they are assessing, they will be influenced by student handwriting. If their handwriting is not so good, so they will get lower scores. Here is our suggestion. Maybe student can give more handwriting practices, or we can remove the rubric from the rating scale, because we need to focus on the content or the vocabulary or grammar, not the handwriting. But the teacher want to keep this rubric because they want student to get higher scores for their further assessment. And the last one, consistency. Because the assessing, when teacher assessing, that is subjective. So that will lead to inconsistency. We suggest that the peer review is very good for students. They can give constructive evaluation, and then they can think critically to give them fair suggestion. Or we can have more multiple graders. But as we said, monthly assessment do not need so much focus. But we can use that in Gaokao. And also, there is no such sentence translation in Gaokao. So we can probably prepare some tasks like another kind of composition writing for students to write that would be more consistent. And here is all we've got today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.